Hi everybody, today we're going to have a look at the solution to question 6 of the 9618 syllabus, Specimen Paper 2. It concerns a function called validate password, which will check if a given password follows some rules. The function takes a string as a parameter and returns a Boolean value. Okay, so it returns true if the password, this password here, the parameter, is valid, and it returns false otherwise. The rules are the password must have at least two lowercase alphanumeric characters, 2 uppercase alphanumeric characters, at least 3 numeric characters, and alphanumeric characters only. So let's have a look at how to approach this problem in pseudocode. First of all, let's write the function header. So function validate password, which takes a string called pass as a parameter, and it returns a Boolean. Okay, so this is the function header for this problem. Now, we know that we're going to process a string. Just to help me think about this problem, I'm going to put a string up here. This isn't part of my solution, by the way. This is just helping me think about the problem. Okay? So, here we have a valid string. There are at least 2 lowercase characters, there are at least 2 uppercase characters, there are at least 3 numeric characters, and there are no, it says alphanumeric characters only, so there's none of this. There's no dashes or hashes or asterisks or ampersands, none of that. No. Alphanumeric only. So we're going to be counting stuff in this string. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to declare some variables to help me do the counting. I need to count how many lowercase alphabetic characters there are. So I'm going to create a variable called count low. That's okay, that's going to be an integer, but I've got some more. At least 2 uppercase alphabetic characters. So I'm going to declare another variable, count up, or let's do count upper. Let's change that to count lower. Count lower, count upper, and we're also going to count how many numeric characters there are. So at the moment in my design, these are all my integer variables. We might be declaring some more variables here, so I'm just going to leave some space so I can write those in. So if you're using pen and paper, just make sure you leave a bit of space up here, and then start writing your solution, okay? Because you might discover that you need to declare some more variables. So I'm going to loop through this string. I'm going to use a for loop. Oh, I is also an integer, so I'm just going to add that to my list of integer variables. Now I'm going to say that the first index of this string is 1. In Python, it would be 0, but I'm just going to say that the first index is 1. Now, why am I using the length built-in function? I'm using the length built-in function because I know from the insert that the length built-in function takes a string as a parameter, only strings, by the way, and it returns the length of the string. So that's the built-in function that I'm going to use for this. Okay, so what I need to do is grab the first character from the string and analyze it, then grab the second character from the string and analyze it, then grab the third character from the string and analyze it, etc., etc., etc. So I is going to help me step through the string. The question is, how can I grab individual characters? Well, what I'm going to do is use the mid function, which takes a string, an integer, and another integer. and it returns a string. So, for example, mid ABCDEFGH 2, 3 returns BCD. So starting at index 2, which is where the B is, it takes out 3 characters. What I want is starting at index I, because I is going to help us loop through this string. Starting at index I, so that's going to be I, I'm going to take out 1 character. So that's how I'm going to use the mid built-in function. So I'm going to say next char is assigned mid function. The string is the pass. The starting index is I, and I'm going to take out 1 character at a time. Oh, I've just started to use a new variable. So I'm going to declare next char to be a string. Notice I'm not declaring pass. Pass is an integer being given to my function. I don't need to declare it, right? So I've managed to grab a character from the string. Let's say we just grabbed the H. We now need to analyze it. So if next char is greater than or equal to A and next char is less than or equal to Z, then we know we have a lowercase character. So we're going to increment our count lower variable. Okay. Else, if next char is greater than or equal to A and next char is less than or equal to Z, well, that means we have a uppercase character. So I'm going to increment count upper. Else, let's just put a then in, so I've got everything consistent. Else, if let me just space this out a little bit. Else, if next char is greater than or equal to the character 0 and next char is less than or equal to the character 9, that means we have a numeric character. So count num will be incremented. Okay. So this is going to be my final condition in this chain, right? If it's not a lowercase character, and it's not an uppercase character, and it's not a numeric character, that means it's just another character on the keyboard. For example, a dash, or a percentage sign, or a hash. And these characters are not allowed in a valid password. Okay? So how am I going to manage that? If it's not any of these, I'm going to use a Boolean for this. I'm going to declare a Boolean called warning. And I'm going to assign it a starter value of false. But as we process the string, if I find a character that's not an alphanumeric character, I'm going to set warning to be true. Right? So this is my logic for processing the string. Check if it's lowercase and increment. Check if it's uppercase and increment. Check if it's a numeric character and increment. Else, I'm just going to say, whoa, we got something that is not alphanumeric. Okay? So now I'm just going to go through this and close my if statements. I've got one there, I've got one there, and I've got one there. So I need to make sure I have an end if for all of those. Try and line them up. So that's all my logic, and that's the end of my for loop. So that for loop is going to process the string. That's all it does. Now I need to analyze the results of that processing. So I'm going to check how many lowercase characters there are, how many uppercase characters there are, how many numeric characters there are, and maybe I should start just by checking this warning. Okay, so if warning is the same as true, that means we got an invalid password. So I'm just simply going to return false. That's all that's going to do. So if we get to the next line of code, it means we didn't return false, so we now need to analyze the counts. So if count lower is greater than or equal to 2, and count upper is greater than or equal to 2, and count num is greater than or equal to 3, that's what makes a valid password. If all of that is true, then we're going to return true. Else, we're going to return false because it's not valid. Maybe there was only one count lower or one count upper, right? So we're going to return false. End if. That's the end of my logic for the solution to this problem. I now need to remember to end the function. If you're a Cambridge International Exams AS level computer science student, if you don't do that, you don't get credit for doing that. Okay, you lose the point, so make sure you put in your end function. So that's the solution to the problem. If you're not sure about certain aspects of that solution, I encourage you to watch the video again. And I would even encourage you to see if you can code that in your chosen computer programming language, for example, Python. Just see if you can get it working. Okay, and that might help you to understand the logic of this problem.